we're going to talk some wrestling. And ladies and gentlemen, he's back. Ladies and gentlemen, the author of The Death of WCW, RD Reynolds. RD, how you doing?
I'm amazingly blessed. How are you tonight, my friend?
I'm blessed. I get to see the event center.
Yeah, you're in the WrestleCrap Event Center. You never know what's going to show up on the screen.
Oh, well, speaking of, you never know what's going to show up. We talked about this. If you watched the last 10 minutes of our last interview, I probably went on a little, I wouldn't say it was disrespectful.
I mean, you had so many main event matches, and the main event was Hogan and Kevin Nash, but the Macho Man versus Dennis Rodman. I mean, to me, from 99, they started going a little up, and then all of a sudden, after Halloween Havoc, it just went like this. And then it was just nothing but bullshit.
Timing there. Whenever a good friend of mine came into the company, and that would be my friend Vince Russo. So
I got him on. I've been trying to get him on the show too, but I'm a little afraid because we will argue.
I'm not going to say anything to him that's going to change his mind about wrestling. He's not going to say anything to me that's going to make me change my mind about professional wrestling.
He don't take criticism too well. There's interviews where
he takes it very personally.
Yeah, it's interviews where Mr. Russo, you know, when you did this, you was behind the scenes, you did this, and you wrote this, and it was kind of stupid. And then he'll go, bro, it's fake. It's fake, bro. Bro, it's fake. It's not real. And then I'm like, motherfucker. So it's a movie, but it has to make sense. I mean, come on. Why would you create something that says creative control, the powers to be? Goldberg going on an interview saying, hey, in the script, I'm supposed to be doing this, and he putting this on the TV show. Why would you do this?
Like, he writes for himself. And that is fine if everyone is viewing things exactly the same way you do. But the WCW audience wasn't viewing things the same way he did.
Can I say this? I don't have no issues with. I don't know the man.
Right.
I just know what I watch. And,
right.
I was a big TNA fan.
Sure.
And he was. I think he was. He had a lot to do with TNA with Vince Russo, and he just understood that wrestling is a sport, and really and truly is portrayed to be a sport.
Right.
He would have been okay. Right. Just understand that this is portrayed to be a sport, and people have their favorites. And, your favorite is, you're not putting a product on that what you want to watch. You want to put something on that everybody else wants to watch.
But it was, I was just stating some facts about a certain someone, a friend of yours, a very good friend of yours, Vince Russo. Now, I want to make it very clear. I can understand that this show is not up to speed for some people. I sent an email out. I'm not going to say what professional wrestler, but we are starting and trying to improve our guests. We're not just doing anybody. We want to upgrade, just like any other YouTube channel, and we want to upgrade. And I'm not going to say that this wrestler, I have nothing against this professional wrestler. I'm still a fan. I like it, and I understand why his people decline. But I'm not going to say, he wrestles for AEW, and I'm not going to say that his name sounds like Brisket Brickahoe. I'm not going to say that. But with that said, I can understand if he says no. But I reached out to Vince Russo. I said, Vince, he's actually a friend on my Facebook page. I reached out to him and said, hey, come on our show. I would love to hear your philosophy about professional wrestling. No response. I reached out even this couple weeks ago. It was his birthday. I reached out. Happy birthday.
Well, when was his birthday? I must have missed it.
I couldn't tell you. It shows up on Facebook, and I'm like, happy birthday.
No. Okay. I feel bad because my birthday was, maybe his birthday and my birthday are the exact same day. That would be, I'll have to ask him. I'll ask him tonight when I talk to him, because I talk to him every night before I go to bed. So we make sure we get each other, you know, nice and calm so we can go to sleep. Mm-hmm.
I hear you. But
alert, that's not true. Don't anybody report that as fact.
Well, I mean, I'm keeping it in. So I reached out, and you know what? So unlike some people, he will not give you a response. You can tell he's reading your messages. You can tell that he's. I'm just like, just give me a simple no. You know, I know you're not a very fearful man. Unless I'm not gonna say that. I would say this.
Who Russo?
Yeah,
Russo. I mean, I am not gonna speak for him. It's always funny because I feel like I'm the middleman of pro wrestling, because a lot of times people will say to me, well, what does Russo have to say about this? What does Brian Alvarez say about this? What does Dave Meltzer say about this? I'm like, I don't know. Go ask them. And if they feel like responding, they'll respond. Otherwise, I'm not going to. I don't want to, you know, say what they might
and
say.
I'm not asking you to. I'm not asking you to say what. My point is, just give me a simple no, yes, or, you know, I'll think about it. I'll just ignore the message, because let's face the facts. You know, Vince Russo, you are a name in professional wrestling, and I do respect that. However, there's a lot of stuff that I want to ask you. I have a platform. You're welcome to the platform. We're not. I mean, this is not, you know, some, you know, fanboy shoot interview. You know, we invested thousands of dollars into this company. You're safe. Just come on.
I'm sure Vince would feel safe.
You're a damn fool. You know that, RD? So last time we spoke, of course, we talked about Vince Russo and his philosophy of professional wrestling and how it sucked. We're not going to get too much into that, but we are going to get into the point of where professional wrestling is today. And I want to hear your take. My take is simple.
Okay.
I'm bored with it.
Okay.
I'm catching myself watching WWE Network, and I just recently, I've never been a fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling, but I'm recently just purchased the New Japan Pro Wrestling app, and I'm watching a lot of that. But I'm really bored with today's product.
Bored with the American product is what you're saying.
Well, I don't even watch, you know, the Japanese current product. I just like to go back and watch all the old stuff that I missed in the last 30 years, which I regret missing. But what's your take on professional wrestling today?
I think there's a lot of good professional wrestling out there. I think, you know, today, right now, this moment, the last year or so, it's been kind of a train wreck because of, you know, the pandemic. So you're not really getting the ability to get what you once had with live crowds. And it's interesting because I don't know they're going to go back to it, especially WWE. I mean, they were losing money on house shows. So why would you continue to, you know, do something that you lose money on? I don't know that you would. Of course, there's a counterbalance of that. And I think it's what you see in AEW. You have so many young people that really need time in front of a crowd. They really need ring time. They need matches in front of a crowd so they can improve their craft. It's like anything else in this world, like your experience right now with your podcast here, right? With your YouTube channel. You're going through and you learn more every single time that you do one of these. So you want to keep doing that. But the problem is if you're doing something and it's not making money, then how do you tackle that if you're WWE? As far as an overall view, I think there's a lot of great wrestling right now. I mean, I grew up, my earliest days as a fan were watching WWF Superstars and Wrestling Challenge and these pretty, And there are a lot of memorable happenings in those shows. Don't get me wrong. Lots of great characters.
I'm right behind you. I mean, I grew up watching Wrestling Challenge, Wrestling Superstar, WWE Superstars,
right?
WCW Power Hour. You know,
sure. WCW Saturday Night.
NWA Wrestling at 605. I mean, I grew up watching all that.
On the Superstation.
Yes.
If you're going to say that, you always have to add on the Superstation. You drop that. You drop that 605, baby.
Did you ever figure out why they TBS used to do that? The Andy Griffith Show at 4:35. Matlock at 5:05.
Yeah, the logic was that they thought that if you start watching something, you watch something on, let's say, USA Network, then you you're flipping channels, and you would catch the beginning of whatever was happening on TBS, so you wouldn't feel like, oh, I'm behind. I don't know that the logic actually was logical, but that was the idea behind it. That's what I've always been told. I don't talk to Ted Turner before he goes to bed, but that's sources. If sources have told this reporter, that's why they did that. Yeah, I mean, you would watch those shows, and there were a lot of great characters, incredible characters back then, but you're watching those shows, and how often were you sitting there going, man, I can't wait for that Dwayne Gill Brutus Beefcake match. That's going to be a barn burner. So now every week you get these, great matches. You get them on Raw, you get them on SmackDown, you get them on AEW, all these different places that you can get this, great in-ring action. I think that the one thing that's missing is you don't have those larger than life characters that really, reach and grab you. I mean, there are characters that I really like, but I mean, there's not it kind of always goes back to, I always think about, of all people, Randy Savage, Macho Man Randy Savage. And I would see him in 86, before he turned babyface. And I was just like, this guy is a complete lunatic. I would be horrified to be around him. He is one of the scariest people I've ever seen. I don't think I can go, out to dinner with this man. He's crazy. He's crazy. He's a lunatic. He's wrestling. He looks like a very dangerous man. Now, I don't think that about, there are people that I'm sure are dangerous, but I'm never sitting there going, oh boy, that guy, whoo, boy, he is a scary dude. So I think you lose some of that, but the in-ring action's a million times better than at any other era that I can remember. I mean, every week, you're getting these incredible matches, and whether you like, WWF, whether you like AEW, you get a lot of different things. It's kind of nice, to have that variety, and of course, with all the streaming services and excuse me, like you mentioned, New Japan World, WWE Network has, basically anything you could think of. AEW doesn't have one, but I'm sure they're going to wind up on, something, HBO Max, or, they'll wind up on something. So you have the ability just with your thumb to watch anything that you would want, not to even mention YouTube. So I think that, as a fan today, the product today, I really, I think it's great, because you get in-ring action, and sometimes you say, okay, I'm not going to get the larger than life characters that I was used to when I was younger, but I'm getting much better in-ring action.
Well, you made a lot of interesting points, and I want to try to touch on them.
Thank you very much.
I want to try to touch on them one by one. But the reason why I'm getting bored, because I do agree with, we do have a lot of wrestling out there right now. If you're a wrestling fan, like I am, this is the time to be a wrestling fan, in the sense of, you got WWE. If you want to count NXT as another company, you can do that. You got AEW. You got MLW. You got TNA, or Impact Wrestling, or Global Force, or whatever they call themselves right now.
Mm-hmm. They really need to go back to Global Force. Have Jeff Jarrett selling gold or whatever it was. I love that.
You got New Japan Pro Wrestling. You got Ring of Honor. I mean, that's 7, and that's probably 10 more that I can think of right off the top of my head. You got a lot of wrestling. My problem is you go to AEW and I sit there and I want to like AEW. And I do. When they first came out, I was watching it every Wednesday night. Okay. But it's just like you get in the ring and they're just jumping around. And I'm like, golly, just would you fucking wrist lock on? I'm starting to feel like one of those old wrestling fans that I used to couldn't stand. Like, you know, back when I grew up watching wrestling, it was real.
You have become, and this may be a little before your time. You have become the old man in the aftermags that writes in and talks about how Vince McMahon's WWF is a circus now. Bring back Bruno.
Yeah, I'm just like just stop jumping. I mean, this is look. No matter how you want to look at professional wrestling, when I watch professional wrestling, I think I told you this before. I'm watching a fight. When I get into the fight, I'm not gonna just start doing flips. You know, doing a 360 off the fucking stage and all this. It's a fight.
I have a question. You said when you get in fights. When's the last time you were in a fight?
Off the top of my head,
I would hope.
Believe it or not, off the top of my head, it happened in the CNN Center.
It happened in the CNN Center. Yeah. You got into a fight at the CNN Center.
Yes, it was. I was drunk, and it wasn't really a fight. I slapped a guy.
Okay.
But security came in, and security in CNN Center is very fast. But that's the only one that I can top of my head. Other than that, they've been with my wife. Did
they slap some cuffs on you?
No.
Did they hit you with a hurricane rana?
No.
That's unfortunate. Well, that's what they train the cops.
No, because what happened was. Oh, okay. Well, we just talked about this. No, the last time I was in a fight was 2012 in South Ozone Park in New York, and somebody tried to mug me.
Okay.
That was the last. I think that was the last time I was in an actual fight. I was walking to my truck to go to Woodbridge, New Jersey, to go to my other hotel, and some guy wanted to get my stuff, and he didn't come correct. He brought a knife to a gunfight.
Oh, no. He was trying to grab your stuff? Is that what you said?
He was walking behind me. He was talking. He was talking, and being from Alabama, I'm just appeasing him. And then he told me to hit my stuff. You got to understand, I was an insurance adjuster, so I had my laptop, my Xbox.
Oh, like a bag. Whenever somebody says they're trying to grab my stuff, that can mean a lot of things.
I had my luggage, my laptop. Most importantly, I had my Xbox 360.
Sure.
And he wanted to get my stuff, and he couldn't have it. He brought a knife, and if anybody that tries to attack me with a knife, I'm going to hurt you. Now, if he had a gun, it would have been all over.
Or if he'd have done like a 450 on you.
Yes, a 450. Yes, exactly.
That's my point.
No, that was okay. So your point,
you got to be prepared for that now. Fighting has evolved. I don't know if you ever watched any early UFC versus the UFC of today. It's all gotten way more advanced, and a lot of times, I don't know. You watch UFC, Conor McGregor. Sometimes he whips out
So you had a point. You asked me when was the last time I've been in a fight. So what was the point?
The point was that fighting is. Maybe now it's been several years since you've been in a fight. Maybe the thugs of today, maybe that's what they do. You don't know. Maybe they are going to do some kind of 450 splash or tope suicida. You don't know. Since it's been a while since you've been in a fight, you don't know. Maybe the world has changed.
I was in Madison Square Garden in 2019 watching the Ring of Honor New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Sure.
It was a great event. I had 10 times more fun, maybe because we had the suites.
Okay.
We free food, free liquor, and all that good stuff. But we have
who'd you con to get that?
Some guy. It wasn't a con.
Okay.
My cousin and I was walking. I was in New York. We watched WrestleMania with my cousin, and we were walking. We were going to a comedy show, We was passing Madison Square Garden. I didn't know where we were going. I thought we was going to go to another bar or something. To be honest with you, we went to the bar the other night. The previous night, I didn't feel like doing the bar.
Were you tanked at the time? Be honest.
Was I tank at the time?
Yes.
I don't even know what that means. What's that mean?
Were you tanked?
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
We went to the bar and we hung out with a lot of his friends, and they were very nice people, but they're New Yorkers, and it just I didn't know what we were gonna do. I was game for anything, but we was walking next to Madison Square Garden, and I knew that it was that wrestling event gonna happen.
Right.
So I told Rafael, I said, Rafael, let's go check out and see how much these tickets are. He said, sure. So we were going to the ticket thing, and they was telling us the price, and this guy who works for CNN comes up to us and says, hey, look here. My company gave us these tickets for this event. A lot of people didn't show up. Do y'all want to buy these tickets off of us? Okay. We didn't know it was a scam or not. And we looked at it and we saw suites and everything. He was like, how much Rafael was like, how much you want? $100 a piece. We looked at him like, we know, being a New Yorker, Rafael knows those tickets are probably worth a lot more than $100 a piece.
Right.
And we looked at each other and we were like, now, we didn't know it was a scam because it was almost too good to be true.
Sometimes you got to roll the dice in life.
Considering that he was doing it right there in front of the guy, and the guy was like, hey, y'all can't scout these tickets right in front of me. So we get there, we wait. We had to go there in a certain line, and then as soon as we gave the ticket and we saw that it worked, we were like, oh, shit. And we was walking like in this area of Madison Square Garden. You guys understand, I'm from Alabama. I've never been to Madison Square Garden a day in my life, but I'm walking in areas that some people have never walked before.
Sure.
And we go to our seats. And to this day, you can go on to the New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can see me right there. Well, you don't see me. You can't tell it's me, but I can.
Right.
And we was right there with the Enzo. Enzo walked right in front of me with Big Cass. I mean, we were part of like this apartment when they were walking up before they started walking up the steps. Enzo actually gave me one of these.
Yeah.
It was a great time. Yeah, I had, but back to my point was, most of the night, besides the New Japan Pro Wrestling, everything else was flips and this and that and that. And yeah, we were up in the air celebrating and clapping and but rewatching it, and I was like, it's getting redundant. Because when you watch Monday Night Raw, you're gonna see the same 20 minutes, somebody's gonna come out and talk.
Right.
And you can tell they're like trying to think about what they're gonna say because it's scripted.
Right.
And I do think is what you said before. Where are the Hulk Hogans? Where are these Stings? Where are the Macho Man Randy Savage?
Well, Sting's over in AEW.
Yeah, I know, but where are the
keep you up to date?
Yeah, where are the Bret Harts? Where are the Stone Cold Steve Austins? Where are the Rocks? The Ric Flairs? They're nowhere to be found. Right now, you got a guy, Shinsuke Nakamura. People love him. I kind of like him better because of his theme song he used to have, but I mean, people like him. And what has he been doing in the last year? He's never, sometimes he's not even on the pay-per-view.
Right.
Why won't you go ahead and say, hey, look, I mean, why won't you just put him on all the pay-per-views? You got a main star, but you're not doing Sheamus. When Sheamus came out, I literally thought Sheamus was a badass. I was at World Rumble 2010 when he fought Randy Orton. I was psyched up about that match. It's like they get these guys and they finally get you psyched up about these guys, and then they put Spike hair. Yeah, they put Spike hair on them and make him into whatever he is today. I don't understand it.
I don't know what he is today. So
point is, he came in, he beat John Cena. You thought, at least in my mind, I thought he was a. Now he's just some white dude with red hair. He needs a tan.
Right. A lot of people are like that. Need a tan. No, but I understand where you're coming from, because you have people that you get invested in, right? Sheamus, in your case, you know, maybe for other people's it was AJ Styles or whoever. And then they basically, you know, they give them a little bit of a push, then it's backburnered, you know, and yeah, we'll push them back up the card whenever we feel like it. But that no one is really, wow, this person is, I can't wait to, I guess that it always comes down to this. I can't wait to see person X, wrestler X, not Mr. X, but this particular wrestler. I cannot wait to see them fight, wrestle, have a match with wrestler Y. You got to have, you know, you have to have that. And it's not very often now that I can say, okay, I can't wait to see. What would be really cool is if I saw, you know, John Cena, or excuse me, let's go with somebody else that's actually around. I can't wait to see AJ Styles go one-on-one with Shinsuke Nakamura. I've already seen it. I've already seen all of this. So is that is someone invading?
Yes, we got a special guest, ladies and gentlemen. The one, the only, one of the greatest actors of all time, the best construction worker in Harlem, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Rafael Lozada. Rafael, what are you doing today, man? You got to turn your mic on, you idiot. No.
That would have been so much better if it worked the first time around. So I did my best Randy Macho Man Savage. Let me tell you something, brother. I'm sorry, that was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that's not a good Randy Macho Man Savage. I hate to break that to you.
RD, you remember that story I just told you about Ring of Honor, New Japan Master Square?
Yes, my short-term memory isn't that bad. I do remember it.
Well, this is my cousin Rafael Lozada. So Rafael, I was just got finished telling him about the Madison Square Garden thing that we went to.
Did you tell him the whole story? How we got the tickets?
Yes, from the guy who worked for Turner. Yes,
that's the story.
CNN.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good night. But we were talking before you came in. We were talking about how professional wrestling has changed in the last couple of years. How I'm catching myself watching more old wrestling than today's product.
I would agree with you 110%, and I'll tell you why. Even in the early Triple H days, when nobody was looking, I think steroids not only were overlooked, but nobody really cared. And because of that, the wrestlers were huge, muscle-bound freaks that seemed angry and could probably shoot their wives with a shotgun at the drop of a hat. But then once all the steroids were gone from wrestling, I think it just became big, fat, burly guys running around using their real names, and it lost its flair. Tell me I'm wrong, Joseph.
RD, what's your view?
So what you just so I'm following along, what you would propose is let's get the steroids back in wrestling. We want everyone to look like Scott Steiner, circa like 1998. Are you with me on this?
I'm saying bring the steroids back to baseball, for crying out loud. Everything was way much more interesting, and you know, as a person, you take your own risks. You know, if you want to get in your car when you're drunk and you get smacked up, or you wrap your car around a telephone pole, those are the risks you take, and you know what you're doing. Same thing as wrestling. Like Hulk Hogan took steroids. Every one of your favorite wrestlers took steroids. And that's why nobody has a favorite wrestler anymore, because these guys are at best middle of the road, big burly bouncer guys. They're not as impressive as Triple H was at one point. You can go back to WWE footage when the guy had muscles on top of muscles. And I think he was the last wrestler who really was at that peak performance, physically looking. I don't want to say morally or personally or physically, but he looked the role of a big badass wrestler, and that's all gone.
What about say one Robert Lashley? What would you think of him?
This exactly proves my point, because I've never even heard, and I don't even think I know.
He's talking about Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley.
Young Bobby, Jared, Billy. I still don't know who Bobby Lashley. I'm talking about wrestling in a serious manner.
No, you're not. You damn fool.
Listen,
he wants to bring steroids back. What are you arguing with this man?
Listen, the last time that wrestling was remotely interesting was the WCW on the Bischoff, when Raven and his goons would take over the squared circle, where the Vaginos, poor guys, broke his neck. I'm the only one who hasn't forgotten that. And it was just more DDP, the Raven, you know, all the greats. And that's the last time wrestling was great. Now, like, even with the new leagues, the AEW and stuff, the whole thing that Jeff Jarrett did, I liked it, but it wasn't as interesting as the old wrestling. And I wish they could bring that fire back, but I don't know if it's the writing, I don't know if it's the cinematography, the fact that the pandemic has ruined it with the fans because there's no fans in the crowd. But just something is missing, and I don't know if you can get that back. And if you can't get that back, then what are you really doing?
A big syringe, I think, is what you wanted back.
A big syringe to the ass cheek when nobody's looking is what I'm saying. And nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to complain. Nobody's going to write a letter. They would just enjoy it more. It's like there's no losers in this except for the person taking the steroids. But that's their decision.
May die very young age, but that's all right. Who cares?
Well, you know, in all fairness, you know, Sylvester Stallone. In all fairness, Sylvester Stallone's in his 70s. Vince McMahon's in his 70s. Hulk Hogan's near 70. And I don't think they're slowing down with the steroids.
You don't? Yeah, Hulk looks like he's ready to, you know, run a marathon right now.
Yeah,
pretty much.
But on a serious tip, Rafael was making up some good points. And what points that before he came in, we was talking about right now.
Sure.
There's nobody right now in professional wrestling. I got my favorites. I think Shinsuke Nakamura should be up there in the top level, but he's not. I don't understand it. My next question is, why is it these wrestlers are going from the leave? Say Drew McIntyre is a very good example.
Yep.
He leaves WWE. He was a jobber.
Right.
In that 3-man band crap he did. He leaves.
Can't believe you're dissing 3MB, baby.
I am dissing it. It was stupid. He leaves WWE. He becomes a big name in professional wrestling all over the world. He comes back. Now he's a big name in NXT. Comes back to WWE, but it's something missing. What is it that's missing?
Jinder Mahal and Heath Slater, because that was a great act, that 3-man band. I really would like to see the 3MB. Remember when the Mega Powers exploded?
Yes.
WrestleMania 5? They should have 3-man band explode. The next
WrestleMania. You making jokes, but I'm serious. What is it about WWE that's bringing this when these people go out to other promotions, become big stars like Christian Cage? I didn't even like Christian in WWE. He goes to TNA. I was the biggest Christian Cage fan there was. He comes back to WWE. Something was missing. Same thing with Jeff Jarrett. I didn't even like Jeff Jarrett in WCW, but then all of a sudden he goes to TNA. I like Jeff Jarrett in TNA.
Do you remember when Jarrett in TNA he was an MMA fighter and he beat up the little kids at the dojo?
when he was fighting Kurt Angle?
Yeah, that was something, wasn't it? I love that.
Oh, the funeral. The funeral was funny too. About 2005, they had a funeral.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rafael,
I much preferred when he was Double J MMA. That was fantastic.
Rafael, did you ever watch TNA?
Yeah, well, I came in at the beginning of TNA, and by that time I was already losing interest in wrestling because, like I said, like I was part of that, DDP, Goldberg, WCW era, and then I think once I lost the desire to continue watching, which I think happens to most people eventually, it just becomes like all your historic, legendary wrestling fans, heroes is what you look up to, and then you're watching old YouTube videos and things like that.
And that brings me to my next point. But especially with the WWE, as the time of this record, the Royal Rumble is going to happen this Sunday. They had to bring back Goldberg. Why? Because who else do we want to watch? I personally love the fact that Goldberg is 50-something years old. He looks like he can kill somebody, and he can go in the ring and give me a good 5-minute match. I love Bill Goldberg right now. I want him to win the championship. We need more Bill Goldbergs in the WWE. Why can't they just take somebody like a Bill Goldberg, transform him, get somebody and say, hey, look, we need another Bill Goldberg. I know they tried with Ryback, and Ryback was picking up steam. But then all of a sudden they were like, never mind. It's something backstage is going on. It's like they have something, and then they just take it from us. And it's like, oh, we don't like you no more. Why is this?
Do you want the real answer?
Yes, I want the real answer.
Okay.
I want the truth.
Okay. I don't know if you can handle the truth, but thank you very much. The story that what I've been told is WWE specifically does not want anyone to be a top star. They want WWE, the brand, to be the star. They don't want to have somebody, let's say, for instance, let's say AJ Styles wound up catching on fire, okay? Or Sheamus. Let's go with Sheamus. Let's say Sheamus caught on fire. He's the next Goldberg. People are going crazy for him. And then his contract comes up, and he's like, I want a lot more money. Where if that's fine, you're going to make the company money. But in many ways, their mindset is we don't want anyone to reach that pinnacle. We want them to be at such a level that we can interchange people. And whenever it comes time to, get a new contract, or if, heaven forbid, they may decide to go someplace else. They may decide to go to Impact, New Japan, AEW, wherever, that they would be able to make a big difference there. They don't want a Goldberg per se that they can't control. I think in some ways they're probably scared to death. I mean, with like, even with Brock, if Brock were to go someplace else, and I don't think Brock's under contract with WWE right now. I mean, he could go someplace else, but someplace else would have to back up the Brinks truck, to get him in. And they don't want to have somebody that can hold them over the barrel, so to speak. That's one theory. I don't know if it's 100% correct. And I'm always fond of saying anybody that says it's one thing, it's in life, it's almost never one thing in any type of scenario. I was watching, the NFC Championship football game. I don't know if you guys are football fans or not. I was watching the NFC Championship game, and they're like, "Oh man, why did the Packers coach? Why did he decide to kick that field goal? That lost the game for him." It's like, no, you played 60 minutes. There's never like one thing. There's always a combination of things in life, and I think that's probably the case in this situation where WWE doesn't really want anybody to get over to the level of what used to happen, because then they lose control. They do not have complete control over their own product. It's also rumors why is Vince really likes being in the Thunderdome and not having real fans, because he can just have people on screens and he can just tell them, okay, cheer now, boo this person, you know, and at some level they you know, he loves to have that kind of control, which he's not had. You know, you lose, especially when you're not presenting something that your fan base at large is like, yeah, this is absolutely what we want, I'm going to cheer this person. That, you know, you lose that control.
Do you think McMahon still has that level of control with the WWE to the point where he's like in a room with the editor saying, you know, add on cheers or take away cheers or add this?
Absolutely. He owns it all. Yeah, absolutely he does. Absolutely. I have no doubts about that at all. I mean, he's going to say, okay, I want to have this person cheered, I want to have that person booed. I mean, right now it's just, you know, they don't have real fans. They have a bunch of screens around ringside, right. And the people that they have, they select, okay, right. They're not going to have me on there and I'm going to, you know, go on the screen and, you know, I'm going to hold up a giant ceramic pig or something, you know, which is vanishing. But anyway,
where did you get that ceramic pig is what the people really want to know.
Right. I don't know. It's my wife's. And it's plated gold.
That ceramic pig is where people really want to know.
I will find that out for the next time I'm on the show. I may even put it up and we could auction it off.
All right. So let's get back to what you're known for, the Death of WCW. You know, if anybody watched the last episode, we talked about at the beginning of it, Vince Russo. And then we talked about, you know, wrestling today. Do people like me and Jim Cornette have a point where wrestling needs to kind of, I don't know, slow down a little bit? Just, you know, let's work a hold, as they used to say back in the day.
Well, the thing with I can't speak for you know, Jim Cornette. I will say this about Cornette though. Cornette's a worker, and anybody that doesn't understand like what he says now is to get a reaction. That's 100% what he's doing.
But I agree with him. I mean, right now, we need to see more wrestling. We really do need to see more wrestling and less flips. You know, it's getting to the point where it's like too many freaking flips. I can't tell you. It's really turning. Look, the ratings are. I understand that WWE is making billions of dollars right now, but the ratings are not good. And the reason why WWE is a company right now and still making billions of dollars is not because of the programs. It's because of other stuff, other avenues that they got into. They got into the movie business. They got into merchandise. They got into et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Ratings wise, people are really turning off Raw because we're tired of the first 15 minutes of some guy talking into a script. Then you watch maybe about a match here or there, and then they go backstage and they talk. It's getting redundant. And then AEW, they're flipping everywhere. Are we going to ever go back to professional wrestling? Are we really going to go back to wrestling? Yeah, that's my question.
Everything cycles. It was my answer. And if it is something that people want, then people will get it. The one thing is how you know, I kind of have a feel. The one thing that I will hurt your feelings, and I have learned to accept it, is eventually we're out of the target demographic. You know, we're aging out. Whenever I turned 50, I looked at my wife and you know, how you feel? I said, well, I don't know. I'm out of any desirable target demographic now. You know, and I think that's what's going to happen is if younger people are like, yeah, I want to see somebody clamp on a wrist lock, then somebody will give it to them and they'll make money on it. But right now, I don't think that's what you're seeing. I think it's a lot of ways. I collect. I help with an arcade. Okay, so I restore old pinball machines and old video games and such, and you know, there's a level that people will want to come and play that. but you're not going to get the same amount of people that want to go and get a PlayStation 5 or one of the new Xboxes. Times change.
Well, I don't consider what I want to watch in professional wrestling old fashioned.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell me, give me one match, tell me who would be in that match and how that match would go. Anybody you want over any period of time.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that is.
Thank you. I had to start a podcast. WrestleCraft Radio, been on the air for 15 years. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Bret Hart.
Okay.
And Hulk Hogan.
Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Walk me through.
I mean, to me, that would be
build up.
To me, that would be the dream match. Okay, it's simple. 93. Okay, if anybody listens to shoot interviews, I used to listen to them all the time.
The magazine pictures and all that.
Okay, here's the story, and we don't got a lot of time, but here's the story. Okay, WrestleMania 9 happened. As a little boy, I literally cried. Shut up, Rafael. I literally cried at the end when Hulk Hogan won the championship belt against the local. Shut up. The reason
were they tears of happiness or were they tears of...
There was tears of happiness. I love Hulk Hogan. I mean, I thought it was the greatest thing in the history because one, my hero, I haven't seen in 1 year, and then all of a sudden he comes back, he saves Bret Hart. It was the greatest moment in professional wrestling, hands down. And everybody who disagrees with me, my opinion, is an idiot because first off, the reason why. When it comes to Hulk Hogan, he's the greatest wrestler of all time because if you we'll go back and watch the videos, watch all the old wrestlers, what do you see in the crowd? All red and yellow. You don't see no Shawn Michaels t-shirts. You don't see even when 96, when Shawn Michaels was champion, do you see a Shawn Michaels t-shirt anywhere? No. It's not covering the whole old arena.
Remember in the late 90s where we never saw any Austin 316 or NWO shirts?
Hang on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Okay, so here's the build-up. Hogan beats Yokozuna for the belt. Bret Hart still has claim to that championship belt because he's the #1 contender. Okay, so King of the Ring happens. Yokozuna beats Hulk Hogan. Now all of a sudden Hogan wants that championship belt back. But Bret Hart is like, well, I never got my rematch. Okay, well, all of a sudden these two need to collide. Bam. Okay. Who's going to fight Yokozuna for the belt?
Okay.
That's the buildup.
Okay.
Back to your point about...
Walk me through the match.
Walk me through the match. I mean, they're going to fight.
Walk me through the match. Tell me how the match goes.
Okay. You want me to be that mark. Okay. Sure.
No, I want you to explain to me because what we have talked about is what you see. The matches you don't care for. Everybody's doing flips.
I didn't say I don't care for. I'm just saying it's getting redundant. It is getting kind of redundant.
Okay. Walk me through what happens in the Hogan Bret match.
Okay. Well, knowing that we know now Hogan's leaving to go, but
no. You get to book it any way you want. Doesn't matter.
How I see it, simple as this. Bret Hart, I love you, man. But they're gonna go, Hogan's not as strong as he used to be. You saw Hogan, he lost a lot of weight, so he's not as strong as he used to be. So Bret Hart's gonna take advantage of it. Bret Hart's gonna work up the leg.
Okay.
And he's going that's his #1 tool is try to work that leg. So the sharpshooter. He's gonna Hogan is gonna get some offense. He's going to, punch, kick, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, Bret was like, now I got that leg again. Bam, we're going to work the leg again. Bam, now it's time for the sharpshooter. Hogan has to get, he's about to tap out. He can't do it. Finally, he gets to the rope. Bret Hart is like, okay, I'm going to finish him off. Maybe have some brass knucks and maybe tell the referee to go look somewhere else. Hit him with the brass knucks. 1, 2, Hogan kicks out, hulks up. Oh my God! Boom, to the ropes. Big boot, leg drop, 1, 2, 3. Hogan wins, and then he goes off and fights Yokozuna and wins the championship belt because he's the king of professional wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Hulk Hogan for you. Anybody who disagrees, do not know professional wrestling. Thank you. I should be a booker.
I don't think Bret Hart loses that match, by the way. And you make it
he probably does it. He really probably does it. But yes, hey, but I would like to happen.
See, to answer his question, I would say we need a badass versus a badass. And what I'm saying is Jake the Snake Roberts versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
We had that. We had that many times.
No, you haven't.
King of the Ring 96. Watch it.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from. I understand where Rafael's coming from. The Jake that you had at that time was very watered down and not what Jake of 88 was. You need that larger than life persona. And this is what we keep going back to. Is what I said about Randy Savage at the beginning of this. You have somebody that you think this guy is completely insane. I would not want to, have dinner with him. He scares me. I wouldn't want to have him around my wife and children because he is just crazy. And then I need somebody else like that that is also somebody that's like, holy cow, nobody can beat this guy. He's completely insane. And you need somebody else like that. I think that's part of what makes Goldberg even today is kind of interesting. As you look at him, you go, this guy looks like he kills somebody. You can tell he's not like really refined in the ring, and he's can be brutally clumsy. And you want somebody like that. You want somebody that you can easily suspend your disbelief that this guy is a bad mother. Shut your mouth. And you don't want to be anywhere near him, because fear that this guy is really what you want to believe a tough guy pro wrestler is. It's the guy you don't want to mess with whenever someone's trying to steal your stuff or touch your stuff, as you said earlier. You want to just give him a wide path. You go over on that side of the road. I'm going to get off at the exit because I don't want to be anywhere near you because you're so bad. And that's what I think is, you guys are probably missing the most in wrestling.
All right. We're running out of time. RD's a very busy man, but I do got 3 more questions. If you allow me 3 more questions. 1, Sting. What was the transition going to AEW? Why did that happen?
Because I don't think he was happy with what happened in WWE with the end of his career. That match that he had with Hunter at WrestleMania was a dumb. And I think he wanted to go out on his own terms. He wanted to kind of do something a little different. And at the end of the day, I think that he probably, remembered Cody's dad and thought, it would be kind of fun to help these guys out. The thing about AEW, and I've said this before, actually I said it to Russo when I was on his podcast last. AEW to me is a very interesting AEW. I like AEW more than I probably would rationally because I want to see them succeed. And I think that Sting's probably in the same boat. And it's like, here's this group that really is trying to do something different. It's trying to challenge and make it something different. Give some people another opportunity, not just fans watching, but also wrestlers to have someplace else to go work. And I think Sting probably looks at it and goes, I like this idea more as a concept than as a company, but I want to try and help these guys. There are people that you want to try. You want to see people reinvent the business. You want to see people have options. So that's my guess. I don't talk to Steve before he goes to bed. So
right
when I do, I'll ask him though.
Rafael, I got 2 more questions. You got a question for RD before we go?
Who's the top guy in wrestling right now?
That's a good question. Yeah.
As far as like from who do I like to watch the most, or who is? No,
what he means, who's the Hulk Hogan, who's the Bruno Sammartino, who's the Ric Flair, who's the
Roman Reigns. Not my favorite, but I think
that's not part of my second question. We was talking about earlier about how you know, they don't want somebody to be bigger than life. So why is it every time Roman Reigns is in the main event? Why are they pushing Roman Reigns so hard? Which I might add, this Roman Reigns right here is where he should have been all along.
Sure.
This
yeah, absolutely.
That nice talking Roman Reigns, nobody liked.
Like Diesel. Remember when Diesel was a good guy and they turned him bad and then people liked him? Same thing.
I like Diesel when he was a good guy too. So
okay.
I'm a different type of fan. I watch it for what it's portrayed to be or what it actually is. Shawn Michaels is not the greatest wrestler of all time. With that said,
wow.
So Roman Reigns is the biggest name in professional wrestling. Okay. Second question. At the time of this recording, the Royal Rumble has not happened. Who is going to win the Royal Rumble? And two, who do you think is going to win between Goldberg and Drew McIntyre?
I think Daniel Bryan will win the Rumble. And I think that let's see, we have another pay-per-view until WrestleMania, right?
Yes.
I'm going to go with Drew. I think that they'll put him over Goldberg. I think it'll just be another. I didn't say I agree with it. I'm just telling you what I think will happen.
I'm actually, because what I saw on SmackDown, I'm going to go Shinsuke at the World Rumble and Goldberg at because that would be a great match right there. If WWE is smart, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania, that would be money. But that's just me. I will because it'll be intriguing, interesting. But you know, what do I know? I think Hulk Hogan is the greatest wrestler of all time.
We've established this.
Last question. Do you think the other promotions, Ring of Honor, MLW, TNA, you know, or Impact Wrestling, you think they're gonna get up the par to AEW and WWE anytime soon?
No, because I don't think you're going to. I think even when you looked at, there's a finite amount of energy and, more importantly, money and time people will spend on professional wrestling. Even when we had the Monday Night Wars, right? You had WWF, you had WCW, and in the background was ECW, and the hardcores really loved ECW. But again, even then, it wasn't something that they supported en masse. I mean, they really didn't, and that's why you didn't see, you know, ECW with a giant lucrative, you know, TV deal. I mean, they wound up on, you know, Spike TV or TNN or whatever, but it was never something where a network, or more importantly, you know, a fan base was ever going to support it at such a level that it could be something that was profitable. And the other problem is you wind up with, and you saw it for sure with WCW and WWF. With ECW, they just started raiding the talent and just started, you know, hiring everybody they possibly could. You would see the same thing here, where, you know, WWE and AEW right now. WWE, I mean, they're throwing like ridiculous amounts of money at people that you would like. Why on earth would we pay, you know, Mike Bennett $500,000? What's the point? But they did it so that nobody else could have them. And that's what would happen if the other companies started to gain momentum. Ring of Honor, Impact, it would wind up being a bidding war, and they would not win that bidding war.
Well, I haven't watched Impact Wrestling in a while, but I heard they're picking up a little bit of steam. I'm happy for them, especially with, you know, AEW and Impact. Haven't really had a chance to watch it, but I wish them the best. I would love to see Impact Wrestling back where it used to be, back with Kurt Angle and Christian Cage and
Claire Lynch, Dixie Carter,
AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. But I'll love for that to happen again. With that said, look, Rafael, we got to let RD go. You got any last words?
Yes, my last words are, to all the wrestlers that may be listening to this little CTS Interview Room podcast, go to Australia, get the good steroids. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell your cousin. Don't tell your brother. Don't tell your friend. Keep it hush hush. In the locker room, a little squirt in the butt cheek. Nobody needs to know. You hit the weights hard. You come back on a Monday, and you kick.
May I say something in leaving?
Yes.
Yes. I just want to say for the record that I have never been nor ever want to be in the future on a podcast where someone says, go get a little squirt in the butt cheeks. So with that, I will bid you guys a fond adieu.
Well, before you do that, stay on the line. Everybody else, we'll see you next Sunday.
Have a good morning, everybody.